Hi, hi Emily. Hi Jason. What I thought is that I would just go through the performance demo on how a performance module behaves in Oracle Fusion HCM, and I'm just going to share a couple of industry best practices on how performance module typically works in Oracle Fusion HCM. Is that uh, the performance there are goals assigned to an employee during the beginning of the year, and the employee or the worker works on those particular goals throughout the year and then gets evaluated by the year end, and the evaluation happens in the performance module. Now that's one way of evaluating an worker or an employee. The other way is that if you don't want to have goals, but you just want to evaluate the performance of an employee, you could do that by configuring uh, uh, what we call it as competencies. Now, competencies are not part of the goals module, but again, you assign competencies during the start of the year, and then you evaluate the employee based on the competencies they've been working on and what's the progress. Now, competencies are typically like you assign a competency like, can you get Excel certified, or can you get a Java certification? So typically those come under competencies, and you can evaluate them in performance module without implementing the goals module. But typically the best practice on implementing a performance module is to implement goals, and during the configuration, there is an option which we call it as populate with worker goals is an option there. And once I check that option, the goals transition into the performance module without any, like they seamlessly flow into the performance module. So let's assume that in this presentation, the manager has assigned, or the HR has assigned goals to this particular employee, and the employee would now log in to the into the Fusion HCM system, and this is where they're going to evaluate their goals, and uh, and see what's going on. So I'm going to log in as an employee right now. So uh, Rosalinda Ayala is an employee, and I'm logging in with her username and password. That's her username. And her password is this one. So I would log in like this. And once the employee logs in, they would go into me and then click on career and performance. So this is how they would get to see their goals. And they could directly click on goals here. So this is where basically you see what are the goals they've been assigned. But since we are not talking about, you get to see the goals here, which have been assigned to that particular employee, and goal shared with me. So these are the goals that have been assigned by my manager and my team. So I went ahead and, the employee went ahead and, basically worked on these goals, and they completed their evaluation. So here is where, okay, staff management. Okay. So this is where basically the employee comes and completes the goals, and they get to see, they complete the goals, and once the goals are completed, now they move into the performance module, and this is where they come here and then evaluate their goals that have been assigned. So here are the here are the goals now, and this is where the employee would come in and then evaluate themselves on the goals that have been assigned to them. So here is where the employee logs in, and then these are the goals that have been assigned to him. That is the goals that were assigned to this employee are training effectiveness, develop career path, and increase program effectiveness. And so I would, as an employee, I would go ahead and evaluate myself on these goals. And the ratings, I have designed the ratings, but the rating model can be different. We could use the ABM rating model. This is all customizable. So I just put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for our demo. So yeah, I did great. And okay, this is the employee rating on the second goal. And this is third goal. And overall, I get to see what is that rating what rating I would give overall. So, it says 4.67, but again, the employee wants to give himself as a 5. So, okay. And here is where they click on save and close. So this is, they do the evaluation and they click on save and close. So click on submit here, and likewise, you haven't completed all the ratings and comments. Okay, so where did I miss? Let me go ahead. Okay, competencies, let me just check once. So basically, I should have actually evaluated the competencies, but I directly clicked on submit. But these are the competencies that are assigned, that is Excel proficiency, proficiency in handling customers and teamwork. So I had to evaluate there, but I did not directly click on it, and I just clicked on submission. But I can just view my evaluation here, and yeah, I should have given a rating, but that's okay. Yeah. Anyways, which ways? Mhm. So any which ways, the manager ratings would be overwritten what the employee has given. So what I'm going to do right now is that the employee has completed their part. They have evaluated themselves on the goals and the competencies. Now I would log in as the manager, and typically there's a workflow rule which is designed at the back end, so that the manager gets this gets to see the employee goals and competencies which the employee submitted. So right now I'll be logging in as a manager. So yeah. So I've logged in as a manager, and this is how he would log in, and he would click on my team, and then again he would click on my team. So he will select the employee that he is doing the evaluation. So he would click on the name of this particular employee. On the left hand side, I would click on show more, and I would go into performance. As a manager, I would go into performance. Okay. And so here is where I have to evaluate the employee over here. So I just see what have been submitted here. So you see the information here. It says select the date for. So you can only evaluate the goals and the competencies of an employee or a worker who's reporting to you after you click on indicate the meeting held. So which means that once you click on this, there is a notification which is sent out to this particular employee that on so and so date, the manager would like to evaluate your goals and performance. So there is a notification which is sent out. Again, this notification can be customized. So I would select this date and I click on submit. So let's assume that the employee gets a notification and you get employee and the manager get on a call. And right now the employee is on a call with me. And as a manager, I click on his goals and competencies. And here is where I would evaluate the employee submission. So basically, the manager would look at the goals which have been assigned to them, and he's going to evaluate. Now, as I mentioned before, the manager ratings are the final ones. They override the employee ratings. So the manager thinks that instead of 5, I think, let's say the manager thinks, yes, he's done really a good job. So yeah, and he does that, and he puts in 5 here. And for this thing, he says 4, but the manager thinks that he's 2, so needs to improve. So and increase training program efficiency, effectiveness, then I would say 4. Need the job. And then finally, what's the rating? The employee gave himself a 5, but the manager thinks that the employee gets a 4. And he just clicks on calculate. And then overall good progress. Overall good progress made. Needs improvements. So this is how the manager is evaluating the goals of this particular employee, and he clicks on save and close. And here are the evaluation topics for the competencies. So again, the manager would go ahead and click on evaluate, and then see what. Okay, let me just a second. The competencies. Yeah, competencies. I would click on here, and then the manager rating probably could give you 4. Manager again gives a rating over here, which is 4. If you see that, in my this thing in my steps, actually I forgot to give the ratings, employee ratings here, so that's why it's blank. Now the manager is giving the rating, and the overall rating the manager gives them is a 4. And yeah, and clicks on save and close. And then he reviews it, and then he clicks on submit. Okay, so here is where the manager gets an option whether he wants to share and release this information as to what his feedback is and what are his ratings to the worker, or to his team member, or he could just click on share and retain, which means that we can create 2 workflows here at the back end, which means that when they click on share and release, this evaluation is sent to the worker and also the HR if required. Or in this workflow here is that it will just share it with the HR and retain it in the system, and it will not basically share it with the employee. Okay, so I clicked on share and release. So what happens basically is that now a notification is sent to the employee, the worker, that his performance has been evaluated, and they get to see what evaluation has been done by the manager. And this completes the overall performance cycle of that particular employee. And if